Welcome to Health and Hormones. This is Dr. Allen. We are excited that you joined us today, and we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. This is Lari Ryan.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we want everybody to get to know how amazing Lari is. I have had the privilege of knowing her for over 7.5 years. I've known some of her brothers for even longer. And then I've had the privilege to work with her for over 3.5 years.
Yep.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a few fun facts, or tell us a little bit more about you.
I wish I was exciting because I would have a lot to talk about. But I've been a nurse for about 13 years. I've worked in emergency medicine. I've worked in ICU. I've worked in dermatology. Now aesthetics and hormones. And this is where I plan to stay.
And which one's your favorite?
Hormones, both. Honestly, I'm like beauty on the inside and the outside. So I love both.
That's perfect.
And I get to do both. So
yeah,
I'm pretty
that's
lucky.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where are you from?
I'm from Southern California. So
What part?
Orange County, a little north, and have lived in Huntington Beach. Have been in Arizona off and on for about 21 years. So
That's
I guess
awesome.
I'm in Arizona now.
We're hoping to open a clinic there in Huntington Beach someday, but maybe.
Oh, then I'll go back.
No, I want to go there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll fight you for it.
So tell me what's your favorite hobby? What's your?
I love to hike. I love exercise. Probably is my favorite. It's my
What's your
physical and
hardest hike
mental.
you've been on?
I've done the Grand Canyon rim to rim 4 times. So
Dude, high five. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
Good job.
So yeah, I love to hike. Yeah.
Tell me one last thing, just so people get to know you.
So previous to being a nurse, I was a makeup artist for 25 years. So I've done, with being a nurse, but I've done a lot of celebrity.
Can you do something to help
makeup.
me look a little better?
Yeah.
We have a glare up
love,
here.
I would love
don't know
to.
how to fix
Yeah.
that. All right. All right. So tell me, why did you go into nursing? Give me a little story and tell me about that.
So, so my oldest daughter, who was born in 2002, she was born with a syndrome called Charge syndrome.
Okay.
And so I was kind of an instant nurse as soon as she was born. So she required 24-hour care at home, and we spent a lot of time in the hospital. And I just fell in love with the nurses because, I just wanted to be like them because they were just angels on earth. Like they got me through the toughest times that I've ever been through. And she sadly passed away when she was 16 months old. And I just wanted to be a nurse. Like that was my biggest goal. And so I ended up getting into a place where I could go back to school and be a nurse. And I wanted to do pediatrics because that's what I knew until I did pediatrics. And then I was like, yeah, my heart cannot handle this. And so I've done adult medicine since.
That's awesome.
So that's my intro, my second
Cool.
career.
So Lari, how do you remember how we met?
I do.
7 years ago. Can you remember that far back?
I do. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So I had just moved back to Arizona from Southern California, and I had some major health issues in Southern California. I was severely anemic, so I had just gone through blood transfusions and iron infusions, and I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. And to put it lightly, I felt miserable. And I just couldn't get help. Like I just felt like there was no help. Everything was kind of a Band-Aid. And so we moved back to Arizona, and my brother knew you. He was a patient of yours. And he was like, you have to see Dr. Allen. Like, just go see Dr. Allen. And I'm like, okay, I'll put my faith in, in this Dr. Allen. And as soon as I met you, I remember our first visit so clearly because for the first time I felt like I wasn't crazy and I was heard, and I felt like, there was hope for feeling better. So that's, and you did. You changed me. It took a while, but
tell us the story. What do you remember?
So when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I was basically just, you have Hashimoto's and that's it, right? So no answers to how I could feel better. And I had been on,
So there are doctors that will just tell you you're
you're good.
nothing for you.
Yep, you're good.
And that's great news because it makes you feel crazy, right?
Right. No, I felt totally crazy. Like, and so when I had been on thyroid medication since I was 12 years old, so I've always had a horrible thyroid. But I was only put on levothyroxine, so we were only treating T4, and I just felt miserable and exhausted all the time. And then when I met you, you talked to me about liothyronine. And embarrassing, being a nurse, like, right, I should know about liothyronine. And so we started on liothyronine. Do you remember that?
Of course.
And it took quite a few adjustments to get to where I needed to be, but it was like I felt like it was like an aha moment. Like, oh, is this how like normal people feel, that aren't crazy? And then you talked to me about my Hashimoto's and diet, which was nothing that was talked to me about before, just that the inflammatory process of it and doing an anti-inflammatory diet, which is not easy, right?
Oh, it's terrible.
And when you finally, in my case, stick to it, the differences that you feel are pretty amazing. Yeah. So, and then...
So is there hope for Hashimoto patients
absolutely.
To feel normal and feel good?
Yep, absolutely. Like I felt like I was on such a high dose of medication, which made me feel normal. And then as soon as I introduced the dietary parts of it and eliminated gluten, which I'm not perfect at, like I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect, but
so you're normal.
Like, yeah, right. But when I am on point with that, with my diet, I can take less medication and I feel so much better. So I can feel the inflammation, ridding, like leaving the body.
That's
as well.
awesome.
So, and then you wanted to look at my hormones.
No, that was perfect, right?
Right? Yeah. So, and then then I became a lifelong patient.
So did you have any hormone struggles?
Yes.
As a young lady.
Yep. So I was diagnosed with PCOS when I was 17. Okay. I was put on metformin, and then I was put on birth control, and birth control was horrible. Like we tried a bunch of different types of birth control, and in
what way? Like what would you say is horrible? Like how it made you feel?
How it made me feel.
Or what it did to your body, or both? Or?
I would say more how it made me feel. Like I've never been one that struggled with anxiety or anything like that, and I felt like it. I mean, honestly, I felt like it put me in psychosis. Like I just felt horrific on it. So, so
that makes you want to keep taking the medicine that makes you feel terrible.
Yeah. So that was another struggle. I mean, my whole life, I would have 3 periods a year and put on weight, and nobody could give me answers as to why it was happening. And then I was diagnosed, but it was another like, here, take this and you'll be better. And I never really felt better. Okay. So.
All right, Lari. So let's stay with Hashimoto's for a little longer.
Okay.
What did you feel like? What were some of the symptoms that you felt with Hashimoto's?
I think some of the ones that I noticed the most was fatigue, just a crazy fatigue. Weight gain was another big one that I had experienced, and then hair loss. Like hair loss for me.
You want to look this good?
Yeah. It's not what I was aiming for, but
neither was I.
And it would get to the point where it was like thankfully I was blessed with a very thick head of hair to begin with, but like handfuls of hair, just like significant hair loss. That is something I noticed, like when my diet, when I have it under control, which is, no gluten, no sugar, dairy, then I don't experience the hair loss. Okay. So that's a big one for me.
So when you were first diagnosed, what did you understand? What did they teach you? What did your doctors talk to you about or teach you about Hashimoto's?
Not much, to be honest. I know I knew at that point that it was autoimmune. I knew it had, there was an inflammatory response. But really, honestly, not much. It was more just educating myself, to learn the ins and outs of Hashimoto's. Right. And I think I had it for a very, very long time, undiagnosed. So honestly, I was grateful when I got diagnosed just to know, again, like, okay, I'm not crazy.
And it could have been clear back when you're 12 years
12.
old, diagnosed with that.
Yeah.
I actually have a patient that I've treated for years that was diagnosed first with Hashimoto's at 12 and now is hypothyroidism and is on medicines for that. Well, do you think we should talk about Hashimoto's?
Yeah, let's educate.
All right. Well, for most of you out there, I think it's important to note that a Hashimoto's is just the name of a physician. His name is Dr. Hashimoto, who was the first one to find that our body is making an antibody that is attacking our thyroid. So our own immune system is attacking us. Well, the big problem with Hashimoto's, add anything if you want to add anything, but the big problem with Hashimoto's is our thyroid is quite possibly the most important of all the hormones in our body. It can affect hundreds of functions in our body. Almost every cell or groups of cells in our body can be controlled or stimulated by thyroid. And so if you now have one of the most important hormones, which can turn on and help a cell function, and now you deactivate that or deactivate the thyroid, the whole system starts to go into chaos. She mentioned, that she felt severe fatigue. Well, what she's saying is that everything in her body hurts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your joints, your body, your muscles. You go do some activity and then you're like, I got to go sleep. And well, that's not allowed when you're a nurse or when you're a mom,
Yep.
or you got to take care of your home. And so it just wipes people out and it just causes so many symptoms. And then she mentioned several times the importance of our diet. Well, many of us don't know that the foods we're eating cause our inflammation to go up or our inflammatory markers. Well, our own body's inflammation is responded through our immune system. So we eat and cause the immunity to go up, increase the production of whatever immune cells we have. And if you have cells that are attacking your thyroid, it will literally can help shut that down or off.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you one last question and then we'll move on. But when we finally got your thyroid treated correctly, do you still feel like that?
No. I mean,
there's hope
I don't
out
even
there?
remember. Honestly, I don't remember. Like, I have to dig back to remember what I felt like. And back then, that was just my normal. Like you said, it's like you don't have time to stop and think, like, man, I'm really tired. And I remember even when I was first diagnosed, along with the anemia, like the doctor then was like, how are you functioning? And I'm like, what do you mean?
This is easy. I got this.
I don't even know what you're talking about. This is just because I didn't know what it felt like to feel good. And now that I know what it feels like to feel good, I don't ever want to go back to that place. But yes, I mean, I think that's why I love, my job is helping people to understand, like, you don't have to feel like this. Right. And there's a lot of people that feel that way, that
they just think this is normal.
Yeah, that's just the new normal.
So what are you most passionate about now in medicine?
Healthcare? I love my job. I say this is my end all be all. I don't want to do anything but hormones, and I love aesthetics too, because helping somebody feel beautiful from the inside and the outside is so special to me. And I've loved being a nurse, and I feel like, for me, bedside in the hospital, I loved it, but it was really hard for me because I didn't ever feel like I was really helping somebody. I was helping them in their stay, and I was helping them feel comfortable and get through this procedure or, whatever they were going through at that point in time. But then they just went home and there was no continued help. And I will say, for the first time, I feel like I'm genuinely helping people feel their best. Like, I feel like I'm saving lives, even though I've worked in a career where I, physically saved lives. I feel that even more now that I'm saving lives.
It's almost, I know you and your family are amazing in sports and love to, but it's like you're their own, you're going to be a coach, a personal coach, and coach people on and help them with their lives.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty special. for sure.
All right. So do you have any advice for somebody out there who might be struggling with their hormones or their thyroid or their Hashimoto's?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're symptomatic in any way, and the thing that, and I didn't realize is, like you talked about with the thyroid, which I think is so important to understand, is it affects so many functions in our body that we don't even realize. And I feel the same way with hormones. It affects every function in our body. And so I feel, if anybody is feeling off, it's important to do the blood work to see what's going on, but to see a hormone specialist that's actually going to dissect the blood work and help, because there's so many band-aids that we can put on things, right? Birth control or, antidepressants, right? So, but, when we do the blood work and we can dissect what the real problem is that's happening, and we can help that. So I think for anybody who's struggling with fatigue, crazy periods, depression, anxiety, brain fog, any of those things, it's so important to figure out what's causing this. So,
and I can tell you as a physician, to have a partner, a nurse who can go in and explain things to patients and kind of coach them along this pathway. It has been found to have a physician and a nurse and to have a whole team of people, because it takes an army of us to help educate, because most of what we have to do is teach and educate people, and it's been amazing to have Lari, who has come in with all her experience as a nurse, but to her experience as a communicator, and that's what's amazing is, one thing. How many times do we have question after question after question? And so to have so many people on our team that can help, it's awesome. Yeah. Can't believe she's worked with us for 3.5 years.
And you're stuck with me.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
I love it.
And I think the hormone process, something else I want to point out for people, it's very overwhelming, because you talked about communicating. And I remember sitting on the table with you, right? And you're telling me all these things, and I'm like, what? Like, I should understand all of this. And it felt so foreign to me. So for me, being a patient, I think I can understand that with patients too. Sure. That, I always tell people this is going to feel extremely overwhelming. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, that's what we're here for.
And we need amazing patient advocates and life coaches and the whole process, right? Okay, so, you had mentioned, and we're so open to tell how you felt before. Mm-hmm. And now you mentioned how you feel now. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to people out there who think the way they're feeling, or if they're exhausted, if they're tired, and that's just their normal? What advice do you have for them? Or,
I mean, I think the first thing that I would say is, one, you're not alone. Like, there's so many people, right? That just
me
that just go through their lives, or like, I'll speak to women specifically, like, we have babies and we're trying to raise our kids and we have all of these responsibilities, right? We're the master multitaskers of everything, and we're tired, but we just don't have time to feel tired, or we think it's because we're trying to do all these things, right, which can be exhausting, but it's real. Like, it's the way that you're feeling is real. And I think so many of us, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. I think so many of us, like I had said earlier, we feel crazy. Like, I'm just weak, right? I'm broken. I'm broken. Like, I can't do all of these things. I'm impatient, right? Like, how many times, and that was one thing my kids noticed with me, like, after I, got regulated, like, Mom, you're so patient, like, and I'm like, oh, I am, but we never want to admit when we're impatient, right. But I think for all of those people out there, like, if you are feeling off, you are worth it. Like, you are worth it to go and figure out why you're feeling this way, and you deserve to be the best mom, and you deserve to be the best wife, and I feel like, for me, like, I feel like I missed out on so much of my life, in a sense. Like, I had a great life, but, like, because I was just trying to get through it, and I wasn't actually enjoying it. And that's something that I will say, since being hormones, like, as cliche as it sounds, like, I feel like it brought so much joy back to my life, because I had the energy to do the things. So I think that's the biggest thing.
That's amazing right there. And that's from her heart. You can tell. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Lari.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go on to the next question.
Okay.
What have you noticed in your experience and career about a medicine called semaglutide? Have you ever
I have, yes.
used that or seen that?
Yes.
Or tell me what your experience is with that.
So I learned about semaglutide, a few years back. I was actually at a hormone conference and talking with a nurse practitioner there, and it was, and she had, was kind of educating me on it. And so I don't know if you remember, a few years back, I had to have a pretty aggressive stomach surgery, and I had gained a ton of weight. And like a good 40 pounds, right? And I had tried for a year to get this weight off. And I am very, like, I've coached macros, like I'm very about macros, I'm very about exercise. And it didn't matter what I did, I could not get this weight off. And so she was educating me on it and all the benefits. And then I did blood work and, found out I have all these markers of insulin resistance. And I noticed my inflammation was through the roof. My brain fog was out of control. And so I started semaglutide, and almost immediately the weight started to come off. And I didn't change anything. I was still eating the same. I was still doing my exercise. And more so than the weight, my inflammation was so much better. I felt like I could think clearly. I just felt like my body worked better. And so I came to you and I was like, hey, we need to really research this and
look at if this would be a benefit to
for
help our patients.
Yep.
Have you seen it help anybody else's life?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I know there's a lot of good and bad out there about semaglutide. There's a lot of studies out there, and there's a lot of, differing information. And so, at this point, we have hundreds of patients that have been treated with semaglutide or tirzepatide, and the benefits of it are incredible. Incredible, weight loss, but even beyond the weight loss, like we talked about, the inflammation and just anxiety, like a ton of patients that have felt better with their anxiety are PCOS patients that have struggled for years with symptoms of, periods and weight and all these things, that we've been able to correct that as well. Sure. And so researching it more and all of the health benefits that come along with it, I think it's a great medication. Sure. I think it's a tool. I don't think it's a crutch.
Right.
I think it's a tool.
And it's a great medication in the right patient.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Yep.
What have you noticed now that people have found that it works? What have you noticed that now they want to overdose or do too much? And so what have you learned about overdosing versus what we've learned now about the microdosing?
Yep. And I think that's where a lot of the negatives and the negative side effects and the negative feelings around the GLP and GLP-1s is that patients are overdosing on it.
Sure.
I think there are so many benefits in microdosing it, and in the health benefits, the weight loss benefits, side effects as well. And I've had a lot of patients that have come to us that have done it other places, that you were on these exorbitant units dosing, and I'm like, you don't need, that's just, you don't feel good. That's not how we want you to lose weight. We want the benefits of it. So I think that's a lot of the misconceptions, is that the more medicine, the faster you lose weight, the better, and it's not true in experience of our clinic for sure.
So let's get this straight. That
okay.
More doesn't always mean better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the most important things about any hormone or medicine is the right amount is the right amount. Mm-hmm. Yep. More does not, most of the time, more means problems and side effects. So have you noticed in all of our patients that we've worked with, if somebody comes in and wants to try semaglutide mm-hmm. and they don't get their hormones treated mm-hmm. versus a patient who is working on their hormones and then adds semaglutide, this tool that you mentioned. What have you seen if they don't have hormones versus if they are on hormone therapy?
It's a great question.
Give me your thoughts on that.
I mean, I see a huge difference, in both. And we'll have patients that will come in just for the weight loss, and they'll really struggle with the weight loss. And even, the benefits of the medication, which are the craving control and the, fullness, they'll struggle. They won't feel those things with it. But if we can discuss hormones and get them tested for hormones, when we've had patients that have then added thyroid and other hormones to balance, then all of a sudden we see the weight start to come off, and they feel so much better on it too. And we're not seeing, specifically with semaglutide, with any weight loss, you can see muscle loss. But for the patients who are doing testosterone, who need the testosterone and are doing testosterone, we don't see that muscle loss with the semaglutide either.
So you're saying that each one of these can work together
100%.
and have the right tools?
100%.
Okay, so have you not learned something from Lari? I mean, she's amazing. And she's been a good friend, and she's also make sure I stay, in line. But one thing I've kind of want to summarize from our visits, if you have Hashimoto's, there is hope.
Absolutely.
Your life is not over. You don't have to feel crazy. You never have to feel, you can feel fatigue, but it's after she does a really hard hike from rim to rim. You can be that mom that you want to be. If you have PCOS, there's hope.
There is, yep.
You can get the right meds, the right hormones, and get right back to where you feel and look as amazing right here as she gets to. And sometimes you might have to add an extra tool for weight loss. And so...
and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Right? Like, that's okay.
And the best part is there are people out there that want to help. So keep watching Health and Hormones with Dr. Allen, and hopefully you enjoyed today.